Welcome everyone to this video. This is a deeper, insightful look into the signs of Cancer and Leo, as you guys will see, and also just some breaking down some basic things about all of the signs here. If you guys would like some more information on deeper subjects and longer lectures, then I recommend you guys visit the School of Sion, and you will be able to join if you follow the steps in the bio of this video. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, everybody that knows astrology knows that every sign essentially is ruled by a planet, one of the 7 planets, but there are also 3 other planets who within the past 500 years have been discovered. This is obviously Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus. I like to say Uranus. I do not like to say Uranus because it just doesn't really roll off the tongue very well. It doesn't really sound professional, but each to their own. So we have Saturn at the top here. This is essentially a list, right? And this actual design I got from a book written in 1933. It's this book here. It was by a Rosicrucian, someone who followed the Rosicrucian order. And yeah, like I said, it's from 1933. It's called Astrology, Mundane and Spiritual by S.R. Parchment. There's also a few other books from S.R. Parchment like Steps to Self-Mastery and the part 2 of this book that I have not yet read. But I've read a bunch of books, for example, Esoteric Astrology from Alice Bailey, The Light of Egypt, and many more ancient ones are very good as well, like Marcus Manilius, Ptolemy, William Lilly Zadkiel. I think he was a Londoner myself, or he's from Surrey somewhere, so not too far from me. The story of William Lilly Zadkiel is amazing, but that's where I got this diagram from, that book right there. So before I start, it is debated amongst different astrologers whether or not if Saturn and Jupiter wholly rule Aquarius and Pisces, because a lot of people say that Neptune plays a part in Pisces, and also Uranus, I believe. So yes, this is Neptune and this is Uranus. Now, it is said in this book, at least, and in a few others that you guys might have read, that the signs of Aquarius is partially ruled by Saturn on the first part of the sign, so the first few days or first couple degrees of the sign, and then it is more Uranian. Also, that Pluto is Neptune rules parts of Pisces. Now, for me and my findings, I personally believe and know to be that Neptune actually rules Pisces. Like I said, this book was written in 1933 when a lot of things were still developing in astrology, and astrology is a developing type of system. There is a word for it, but it just slipped out of my mind. But astrology is something that is essentially always developing. Some things will remain the same and some things will not. So we have Saturn and Uranus here ruling Aquarius and also Capricorn. Forgot it. So then we have Jupiter ruling Sagittarius and Jupiter and Neptune ruling Pisces. Aries is ruled by Mars, which also rules Scorpio, the fixed sign. Then we have Venus ruling Taurus and Libra. And then we have Mercury ruling Gemini and Virgo. So as I said, it's heavily debated, these two. I won't get into it too much in this video, but I probably will publish this on YouTube, and I will 100%, I will go into depth from whatever you guys see on YouTube. I will go into depth on and give very deep lectures on the School of Sion. So the reason why I say that Cancer and Leo are special, they're very special and different type of, they're very different types of signs, right? The reason I say this is because of what they represent, what they are. Because as you can see, they're not over here, they're over here, right? So the sun is exalted in Leo, moon exalted in Cancer, and well, technically the moon is exalted in Taurus, right? But its sign, its home sign is of Cancer. So the sun and the moon pertain and only pertain to Cancer and Leo. Now, if you guys have read in occult literature, Manly P. Hall, Initiates of the Flame, what you find is that this is actually known as an alchemical marriage. And what that means is essentially a type of marriage within. And this is what I'm pointing to about how Cancer and Leo are very, very special. So I don't think Manly P. Hall touches on this in his book, but that alchemical marriage that he speaks of, essentially what he means is that you need that alchemical marriage for the Philosopher's Stone. So a very interesting thing is that that Philosopher's Stone is within. It's not an actual stone without, it's something within. And Cancer represents Ida, which is the negative channel in the body on the left side. And Leo represents the fiery, but it also represents Pingala, the positive channel in our body. So when people talk about Kundalini and the Eastern system of ascension, you might often hear Kundalini energy, serpent energy. And that energy is something that rises throughout the main channel in the middle called Sushumna. The Sushumna is the main channel that runs from the base of your spine right to the top, right? Ida and Pingala, however, will swirl around it in every chakra up to here, right? The Ajna chakra, I believe. And this chakra here is where Ida and Pingala meet. Now, the left side of the brain rules the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain rules the left side of the body. And it is often said that we are in a patriarchal system, and the proof of this is that many of us are left-brained, right? And they don't want us to use our right brain, which is feminine. If we're left-brained, it means that we're right-handed, right? And this is the truth. Most people are right-handed, and very few people have a good enough balance where they can be ambidextrous. So it's a very interesting one to keep in mind. So as you can see here, these planets all rule two signs, right? Mercury rules Gemini and rules Virgo. Venus rules Taurus and rules Libra. Mars, Aries and Scorpio. We'll keep it short and simple for now, but essentially Jupiter, Sagittarius and Pisces. Even though I really disagree, the thing I disagree with the most is that Jupiter rules Pisces. That I do not really agree with, even though I can see some similarities. I can see some things. And then we have Saturn for Capricorn and Aquarius. I can see a little bit of why people say Saturn for Aquarius, but I can also see why not. But with 100% certainty, what we can say and what we can measure and record is that the Sun and the Moon belong to Leo and Cancer. So as I said, one is cardinal and one is fixed. And unless you guys don't know, we have three types of signs. One is mutable, one is fixed, and one is cardinal. I should put a cardinal on top because essentially cardinal signs have the most energy and the most power. And it's not to say that those people that associate with, oh, I'm a Cancer, oh, I'm a Libra, oh, I'm a Capricorn, you are all 12 signs, right? You, like, everybody is all 12 signs. It's just that you have different planets in those signs giving you more energy and more of a likeness or a kinship like to those signs. So me, for example, my sun is on the 29th degree of Cancer, also known as the anaretic degree, the 29th degree. Does that mean I go around saying, oh, I'm a Cancer, I'm a Cancer? Yes, technically I'm a Cancer. If you look into my life, the relationship with the mother, the relationship with so many things, it will be present and you will see it. Why? Because your sun is there. And that doesn't now mean that I am only a Cancer. So when you guys get an astrological reading, be sure that your astrologer knows this for a fact. So these are the three signs that we have here, right? Cardinal, cardo in Latin means hinge, right? So that means hinge. Mutable, good for change. And it's interesting because these two mutable signs, Gemini and Virgo, are ruled by Mercury, which loves to change signs very quick. It moves about very quick, and it is the messenger of the gods, which is why in English, Wednesday, you don't pronounce the D, but it's there. The secret message is the D in Wednesday. And actually in Spanish, they have all the correct terminology for the days of the week. Lunes, lunar, moon, Martes, Tuesday, Mars, Mercurio, which is obviously Mercury. So yeah, it's very interesting when you think about that. And Venus is a very fixed sign, giving the female addition, I don't chase, I attract. So ruled by a very fixed sign, Taurus, and also an incredibly smart sign, Libra, which is cardinal. And yeah, it's extremely interesting when you get into this. So in our diagram here, we see all of these here, but the main thing to keep in mind is that these two have never been associated with any other sign. I mean, yeah, they've never been associated with any other planet, right? So Cancer and Leo have never been associated with any other planet. And it's interesting. So the sun is exalted in Leo and the moon's house is in Cancer, but the moon is exalted in Taurus. So we find ourselves a very, very intricate diagram proving that essentially the divine feminine is the Cancer, which is the cardinal water. It is a negative sign. And if you don't know what negative and positive is, every sign has a negative and positive, and it starts off positive in Aries, negative in Taurus, positive in Gemini, negative in Cancer, and so on and so forth until the end. So as you can imagine, Pisces is negative and Aquarius is positive. And these represent the feminine and the masculine counterparts of each sign. And it makes sense that Cancer is a cardinal sign and that Leo is a fixed sign. Leo is a fixed man. He's a very fixed sign. Now, fixed doesn't necessarily mean like how you would imagine a plant to be fixed, like rooted, but it can, right? And we can really, really see that. So Leo essentially represents a divine masculine. It represents a man in his divine masculine element. And without getting too much into it, into the modern way of how people think about it and perceive it, and just astrological terms, the lion is an animal that is also in the Chinese astrology. We know that as the tiger. But the lion likes to be the king of the jungle, right? Even though it doesn't really live in a jungle and it lives in a savanna. It's pretty interesting that they call it that. But it likes to be king of the jungle, and it likes to do a lot of the proud things. It roars, right? And when you actually find the interesting thing about it is that the female lions do a lot of the hunting, not the male ones. And if you find a lot of fighters, Alex Pereira, Mike Tyson, they're Cancers. And when a Cancer is put in a position, remember that a Cancer is not just a crab, it's a giant crab, okay? The Cancer is no joke, and the fiery nature of the Cancer is very interesting, because when you have people like Israel Adesanya, born on the same day as me, 22nd July, Alex Pereira, Mike Tyson, and so many other fighters who belong to the Cancer house and constellation, it's super, super interesting to see this, because Cancer, as in its core self, is a cardinal mother. It likes to take care for people, watch over people, and it is a negative sign, meaning it will be around other things, right, that might be positive or negative in their own nature, take it in and do something with it. For example, I'll give you guys an example of why water is negative. And all the proof you need is in a tea. When you go and make a tea, that water is negative because whatever herbs you put in a tea and it starts boiling, the water acts as a negative charge, taking in the energies and the essences of those roots and herbs, regardless if the roots and herbs are masculine or feminine, and it will draw it out so that you can drink it. That's the negative quality and thing about cardinal signs and just negative signs in general. And it's interesting. So we have a cardinal feminine and a cardinal masculine. And unless you guys have studied astrology, then you probably wouldn't know, but Cancer and Leo are right next to each other. So we start off with Aries, then Taurus, then Gemini, and then we have Cancer, which is the fourth sign, also representing the fourth house, which is to do with your home and your conditions at an old age. And then right after Cancer is when we have Leo. So things go like this: cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. And that's 12. But there are 4 different types of signs, right? So we have air, water, earth, and fire. Now, it's interesting that they are the exact opposite. A Leo is a fire and a Cancer is a water, right? Cardinal water means I own the water, right? I am the water. Not I own the water, but essentially I am the queen of waters, right? This is why cardinal peoples are very, very intricate. They're very deep people. They're very mystical people sometimes. And sometimes not. You have people that are 33-degree life paths and who have tremendous placements, grand trines, and some even grand squares in their charts. And it doesn't really reflect in their life. So this is something interesting that I've noted. And it's funny because we talk about Kundalini a lot in this new age space, but little is known about it on a astrological level. Now some of you might ask, well, if that is Ida and that is Pingala, then what is Sushumna? That I do not know, and I do not believe that Sushumna exists as a sign. Even though Leo actually rules the spinal cord and it also rules the heart, Cancer likewise rules the breast and the stomach. So when they say you've got a gut feeling, it's because the water always feels it. If you're out in a boat at sea and you see some ripples come at you and all of a sudden the ripples start getting crazy, but you can't see anything, right? It's like, oh, I can feel it, I can see it, there's ripples coming, there must be something coming. That's where the gut feeling comes from. It comes from all the water signs. The water signs have tremendous gut feelings. Like myself, in a fasted state, it's amplified. So Leo, the Leo likes to be proud. The Leo likes to work on his manship. He likes to be a proud man. Yes, they can have problems with their ego and so on and so forth. Likewise, the Cancer can have emotional problems and a lot of blockages. But people are starting to realize in this age of Aquarius, more or less, that emotional blockages are actually quite easy to break through, given you know the right things and given you do the right things. And that depends. I can say that, but doing it is a whole other thing. Saying something and doing something, two different things, guys. So yeah, Leo likes to be strong. Leo likes to be rooted. It's a fixed sign. The Leo enjoys travel. The Leo does enjoy travel. And the Pingala is very quick. It's quick energy, it's fiery energy, right? It's literally fiery energy. So anything to do with fire and Pingala, you will find that it has a lot to do with Leo. Likewise for Cancer, it is negative. In plenty of books to do with Kundalini, Tantra, Esoteric Yoga, and many other things, you find that our nostrils change breath, or essentially we only breathe through one nostril at a time. And more or less what some people say is that our nostril charge changes every 90 minutes. So what I mean by that is for 90 minutes, you'll be breathing out of one nostril, and the next 90 minutes, you'll be breathing out of the other. So we essentially tend to breathe through mainly one nostril only. So Cancer represents Mother Earth and Leo represents Father Sky. So this is what's called the Great Spirit and Mother Earth. So a lot of tribes will pay respects to but only two beings, and that is the Great Sun in the sky and Mother Earth. Not all tribes, like I said, but a lot will. And this Father Sky and Mother Earth has been following us humans for so long, since our cosmogenesis inception. And if you read anthropogenesis from different occult writers and stuff, you will find that as well. You will find that it's so prevalent. So Cancer represents in words, right? The key words for Cancer. Also that I got from this book, but also from other books. This is pretty similar. You'll find this in a lot of books. Cancer represents fecundation. Or fecundacy or fecundation, which means inception, creating life. And Leo represents life itself, the living life, right? So this is what is reflecting upon us. We have Mother Earth, which is Akasa. When people talk about Akashic records, right, what they're referring to is Cancer, which is Akasa. Akasa is the cosmic root of the substance in the whole universe. Some people can call it ether or etheric substance, right? That is what is meant. And Leo is Father Sky. It is life, it is virility, it is manship, kinship, family, children as well, because the man brings the children. And if you imagine it, right, a man has to produce heat downstairs, and he has to cook his downstairs area within a female to produce life. And that then produces a liquid to come out of the man. That liquid is Leo, okay? That liquid is what the whole point of the man is. So if you think of man as producing a seed in the right conditions, for example, like the heat I described and the space, then what you find is that Cancer is actually the female, because it is Mother Earth. So Cancer is our Mother Earth and Leo is the fixed sun. And it's funny because the sun goes around in the same cycles, in the same degrees, year after year after year. 365 days, and that's all you find that the sun does. Very, very interesting. So Leo represents life, Cancer represents fecundation. So this represents the soil and this represents the seed. Men represent the seed and women represent the soil. Because if men don't have a soil to plant their seed in, no life is being made. Likewise, if the soil is just there with no seeds, no plants will grow in it, no life will grow in it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a very short one in my opinion, about 20 minutes. So I hope you guys enjoyed it and you got to pick up some things from this video, because I drop a lot of gems here and there. A little bit of ADHD goes around and says a lot of things that might not be related to my initial point. But regardless, this I think is the most important part of what we can pick up on is Ida and Pingala, because a lot of people don't think of yoga being syncretized with astrology, but actually they are one in the same thing. There are multiple yogic asanas, which are postures for every sign. And you know, in my opinion, there is a tradition of every 5 degrees of the zodiac being ruled by a certain angel that people can communicate with. I'm not talking about the Picatrix, but it can be said akin to that, because 365 divided by 72, is it 365 or 360? I'm not sure. Divided by 72, you get 5 degrees for each. Divided by 5, is it? Is it by 5? Yes, divided by 5. You get 72. So 365 divided by 5, you get 72. And the 72 angels that is talked about in the Bible and in so many places is what they call the angels that rule every 5 degrees of the zodiac. And I personally believe that there is a yoga asana and more to be said about those each specific 5 degrees. But that's a conversation for another day. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, give it a subscribe. Maybe don't give it a like. Maybe you don't give me a subscribe. But whatever you do, have a tremendous day. And I hope this knowledge helped you connect some gaps in there.